What's up, everybody? I'm Josh Meek, the Uber Geek. Thank you very much for taking some time out of your Stranger Things marathon to come watch Pretty Dece, your daily entertainment and pop culture podcast. You know, I love weird games, and no one makes weirder games than Bossa Studios. They're the makers of Surgeon Simulator, where you pretend to be a surgeon that has to undertake various surgeries, and it's hilarious. Lots and lots of live streams of Surgeon Simulator, lots and lots of Let's Plays. They made I Am Bread, which is a game where you're a piece of bread that has to fling himself across various locales to get to his destinations. And their newest game is kind of just as weird, but has a multiplayer slant to it, and that game is called Decksplash. Now, if you're watching the video version of Pretty Dece, you're seeing the Decksplash trailer playing behind me. If you are listening to the audio version of Pretty Dece, you got to check out the video version. PrettyDeceShow.com/video is where you can check that out. Now, Decksplash looks really, really cool. It is a game that features these little fingerboards, these little toy skateboards, essentially. You control one of those as you trick around the environment. You are going off rails, you're going off jumps, and all you see in front of you is your skateboard that you've customized. You've picked the paint job, you've picked the wheels, the axles, everything. And the gameplay, the reason it is a multiplayer game is because the gameplay is basically Splatoon. You are painting the landscape as you do tricks. It seems like the larger your trick, the bigger your paint splash. And at the end of the game, whichever team painted the most environment with their paint color wins. So it's kind of a land grab as far as painting goes. Meanwhile, you're playing kind of a tricky skateboard like Tony Hawk style game. It seems really cool. It seems like it has a ton of life to it. It has a ton of like really cool stuff going on. The game really has personality. So it's in development right now. They've been doing like play time with the actual studio itself, so like inviting people to kind of play, and they're, I guess, a little worried about the number of people who have been joining them for those things. They're a little worried that this game is not just like tearing up the charts basically so far. So they're doing something pretty weird. They're doing what they're calling the Splash and Grab, which is a free weekend for the game. So the game will be out in early access, free for a week. This starts November 2nd. And then if 100,000 people play during this free week, the game will get released at the end of that free week. Seems pretty normal so far. If 100,000 people don't play, however, the game gets axed completely. It will never release. They will stop developing it. They'll move on to something else. That's pretty extreme. That's pretty drastic. So of course the big question is why are they doing this? Why would they do it this way? And really it's kind of their way to gauge interest is what they're saying. It seems very weird. It seems kind of like a way to like hold people hostage, like play our game or it's done. But when you think about it, a game needs a community if it is multiplayer focused. You need a certain number of people who are going to be signing up, who are going to be there. You need enough people that if I go try to get a game at any point during the day, there's going to be enough people playing that the game will kick off. Otherwise, you have people that just buy your game and then can't ever find a game when they try to actually play the game, and then they're just straight out of luck. So the studio, Bossa Studios, said that they could have made a quick cash grab, got people's money, and then never actually had a thriving community that can actually play the game. But they didn't want to make a quick buck like that. So they wanted to gauge interest. They wanted to actually try to build a community. And this 100,000 number they're saying is if that many people want to play the game for free during this week, then they think they'll have a good number of people who also want to purchase the game, enough to have a community, enough to have people buy the game and then not be completely, lost when it comes to the ability to get a game going. There are so many games released today that just come out and never ever have a community form around them, that the developers spend years making the multiplayer component of their game, even just straight multiplayer focused games that come out and no one ever plays them. There's just so many games coming out these days. So it makes a lot of sense to want to know if your game is going to have an audience, to know if you should keep developing this game or if it's going to be a massive flop. You can't fault them for that. If this game comes out and in this free week and 100,000 people don't play it, people aren't interested, it's not something that people like, then they can move on. They can go make another game. They can go figure out what the next weird thing that they're going to do is. But if people are into it, and if this is the thing that drives people to the game, well, awesome. They've made a cool community for a really cool looking, really weird looking game. So if Decksplash sounds at all interesting to you, check it out during the free week. I'm going to check it out during that free week as well. Hopefully they hit 100,000 people. Hopefully this game comes out. Hopefully it finds its community. But it's certainly an interesting way to go about releasing your game.